Hi folks. Me and the wife just came back from watching Star Wars The Last Jedi. This movie bothered me so much that I just thought I would make a video right now, right here, and rant about it. Now, there are some disclaimers that I have to make. First off, spoilers. I'm going to spoil the heck out of this movie. If you haven't seen it, don't watch this video. Turn it off right now. Spoilers. Okay? I'm gonna put it in the title really big. Don't watch this. Secondly, I haven't liked any Disney Star Wars movie so far. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh my god, how can you not like this? You must not like Star Wars at all. Well, I did like Star Wars. I've liked Star Wars since I was 9 years old? Probably sooner. Maybe 8 years old. Anyway, I like the original movies. Obviously, I like the original trilogy better than the prequels. But the prequels still felt like Star Wars movies to me. The Disney ones have not. And I'm not going to go into details about that right now. Also, I'll fully admit that I was a big fan of the expanded universe. Not everything, obviously. I did read The Crystal Star, which is the one that always gets brought up. And yes, it was horrible. But on the whole, I really enjoyed the expanded universe. And I thought it was something special in that we had a really long continuity. And I really like continuity because I like it when stuff doesn't just change whenever a new director comes along. So let's get into the movie. Obviously, I couldn't bring my notepad into the movie, and at the time I didn't yet realize that I was going to need it. But I tried to write down what I could after the movie. So we start out with a space battle, which is fine. Space battles are cool. Except that the whole space battle is Poe Dameron taking on a Star Destroyer or a Star Dreadnought or whatever it is, all by himself. No problem. Now I know that starfighters have had amazing success against large ships before. It looks in Return of the Jedi like a single A-Wing takes out a Super Star Destroyer, but it didn't. We see Akbar saying, concentrate all firepower on that Super Star Destroyer. So we can assume that other stuff is happening. There's a reason the shield went down. Look, it still didn't make perfect sense, but you can buy it. What I can't buy is one X-Wing taking out this Star Dreadnought, taking out all the guns, but then those big guns that are firing on the planet, no, he can't do anything about that, because these shields are apparently only as powerful as the plot requires them to be. And that's a theme that happens throughout the entire movie. Shields are only there when plot needs them, and otherwise they suck. This Star Dreadnought, what the hell is going on with that thing? It has these huge cannons which look kind of like they belong in a Transformers movie. And it shoots these big blobs at the planet. Then we see this explosion on the planet, and then we see it from space. Now they not match up. It looked like a fair-sized explosion on the planet, when we see the base. But then when we see it from space, it's this enormous explosion that takes out like the size of my entire country. So what's happening here? Also, apparently, shields do nothing against these cannons because they act like they're going to blow that Mon Calamari cruiser out of the water with a single shot, even though later on it's being chased by an entire fleet. It's just constantly firing on it, and its shields hold fine. So did they only have one dreadnought? Do they not put these guns on anything else? Ugh. Also, the entire time, this Mon Calamari ship is just sitting there because apparently it doesn't have any guns. Later on, it has like mild anti-fighter weapons, but I guess they don't believe in turbo lasers anymore. Also, so then we have these new bombers. I have to say, these bombers suck. All of them die. All of them are slow as hell. Like, give me a B-wing and I feel like it's going to be more effective, especially with shields that just randomly work or don't work, you know, whatever. And what about those bombs? The whole system is stupid. Why don't you have a button to drop your bombs in the cockpit? Why do you have the person clicking this remote? I thought these were bombers designed to bomb stuff. But no, it's the most awkward system I've ever seen. I couldn't even figure out how these bombs are dropping. There's no gravity in space, so why are they falling down? Is it part of the gravity system on the ship, the grav plating? I don't know what's going on there, but... And that small thing isn't the biggest problem, but these bombers clearly suck. And then one makes it, and I have to say, in a fighter battle, being knocked unconscious, even for a little bit... That thing should be torn up. There were so many TIE fighters. This is something that really bothered me in the entire movie. Where are the old aliens? I see one Mon Calamari, and I'm going to talk more about that later. And I see Chewbacca. Everything else is new aliens. It's like the whole movie feels like it was made by people who didn't even watch the original 6 movies. They don't care about all these old races. They just want to make some new stuff. And it has to be more ridiculous, more obscene. Well, I guess not obscene, but more over the top than anything we had before. Which is why everything feels so overdone. I haven't seen any Trandoshans, I haven't seen any Twi'leks, I haven't seen any Duras. Nothing. It's all new stuff, which is never explained. I know the old races weren't explained either, but why not include some of them? We like the old races, at least I do. I like the old races, and I wanted to see more of them. But I feel like this whole movie takes place in a different universe, and I wish it did. There's a thing. This is not in order. I just wrote down whatever I could remember. The fuel that they're using to fly. Okay, first off, the whole thing, let's chase them indefinitely, seems so stupid. You have hyperdrive. Why don't you jump one ship ahead of the ship, and then a few on the side, and then you can close in from all sides? No, let's not do that. Let's just chase them indefinitely. I mean... That guy, whatever it is, the blonde guy, he even says, what kind of crap ships do we have if we can't catch him? The whole thing felt so forced because they wanted to have a long drawn out thing like this. Alright, my original thing. So, they have 18 hours of fuel left. And then Poe Dameron's idea is to jump into hyperspace. Does jumping into hyperspace not use fuel? Because they just said that it did. They only had enough fuel for one jump. So what is it? Are there 2 fuels? I don't know what's going on. There is so much character assassination in this movie. And it really bothered me. Luke goes from being possibly my favorite character in Star Wars. My dog is named Luke after Luke Skywalker. And he becomes this sad old man who's given up on life and wants to murder his own students. Yes, I know, in the end he says, oh, it was just an impulse. Oh, come on. You're a Jedi Master, be like, should I kill my own student? Maybe I should. Oh, he's also my nephew, but that doesn't bother me. No, I'm gonna get stabby here. Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. It's... Ugh. I can't even express how much that bothers me. This Luke has just given up on life, given up on the Force, given up on the Jedi, given up on everything, and he's just sitting there being a little depressed bitch. And then when someone comes and like, oh, I need you to help me, he's like, no, piss off. I'm busy doing my thing, catching fish. And so why didn't he maintain his hand? He's like, geez, dude, bring some supplies at least. In a lesser extent, I felt like Chewbacca's character was also being assassinated. He just does... He throws that door, and then he's pretty much just there for the rest of the movie. He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't talk to Luke. Is Luke not one of his friends, his close friends? They don't even spend some time talking. You know, talking about Han who died, which Luke didn't even know. He's a Jedi Master and didn't even know Han Solo died. It's like he might as well be dead. I would have preferred if he was. And I wouldn't have to watch this stuff. Then they need a hacker. Or maybe it was a cracker. Whatever. It's not hacking. It's slicing. It's always been slicing in Star Wars. That's been established. But again, this movie feels like it was made by people who never cared about Star Wars. I know it's nitpicking, but it matters to me. I've been following Star Wars for so long. You can't even get the terminology right, then why am I paying you to watch this movie? I should mention that I didn't pay, because I have this card where I get to watch all movies for free for $30 a month. So nothing is explained about Snoke. Nothing. You know, he's just there. I don't know if he's a Sith. I don't know what is going on. Apparently he's super powerful because he kicks everyone's ass. But then he's a complete moron. And he's like, oh, I see him attacking his true enemy. If I ever said that, I would be highly suspicious that, oh, am I interpreting this right? But no, let's just sit there, not notice that anyone is using the Force, because nobody ever notices anything. And then just get cut into pieces like a moron. So yeah, there was a lot of build-up to no payoff. I just want to say, everything on that casino planet was stupid. So now we get into weird politics where these people are weapons merchants selling to the First Order. Now, I don't know what's going on with the First Order and the Resistance, but I bloody well know that the Empire made their own weapons. They didn't buy them from merchants. And also, really, weapons merchants are building Star Destroyers and selling them. I know that there are always companies behind what makes these things. But this whole planet, it feels so ridiculous. All the weapons merchants come to this planet to spend their money and be decadent. And I felt like the movie was making a point, but half of me had already tuned out. And the presentation was so bad. At first, when they arrived, I thought, oh, maybe this will be like the Coral Vanda. You know, in the Rant trilogy. Something that was actually cool. But no, from beginning to end, it's stupid. And it's so predictable. Also, you could cut the entire thing out and just have them meet this random cracker, which should be a slicer, and it wouldn't change the story at all, because nothing happens. Except that one kid apparently has the Force, because at the end he's like, here broom, yeah, I use the Force, yeah, I haven't been trained, I'm just a slave, I don't care. So this entire resistance is just a clusterfuck of incompetent people. Oh no, we're being attacked. I don't have any ideas. Let's just fly away. Then let's... So the First Order does not see these ships leaving until that traitor guy tells them. They don't got eyes. They don't got sensors. None of it. No, they're only paying attention to that big ship. Because, whatever. We're all tuned out. Let's take a nap. Oh my god. Which brings up another point. That this liked character, the one with the purple hair, the entire resistance seems to be run by a clusterfuck of people who are just doing whatever. Including Poe Dameron, because his plan is kind of... Yeah, I know, it's supposed to be the heroic plan, but then it completely falls apart. And it should, because it was stupid. Oh, also, let me just say, they never heard of tracking someone through hyperspace, but then it happens, and they completely predict how it works. Even though they have a supreme leader who's a master of the Force. Not once did this occur to them, maybe it's Snoke doing this. No, let's just predict exactly how they track us and be correct about it. Because that makes sense. That's how life works. Right. So she's watching the ships leave. And she's staying behind to, guard the ship. Or fly the ship. Or whatever. And then she watches them leave. And she's like, Godspeed, rebels. Godspeed? That's an Earth term. We say Godspeed. Star Wars people don't. Again, if they actually cared about Star Wars, they would know that in Star Wars you don't say Godspeed. I've never heard of anyone saying Godspeed or referring to God, except for a few special cases. But there is no Christian God, and I've never heard of anyone saying Godspeed. You say the Force be with you or something Star Warsy, but not Godspeed. Oh, and I go to church too. It's not that I'm against God. I just don't think he has a place in Star Wars. Then hyperspace suddenly is the most awesome weapon anyone has ever had anywhere. Why are people not building droid starfighters with hyperdrives and using them as ultra bullets to take out Star Destroyers? Yes, I know this was a Mon Calamari cruiser, but it takes out an entire fleet! And maybe I'm too set in the expanded universe, where hyperspace is actually a different dimension you're flying through. So you couldn't ram a ship. But didn't they do this in the last movie? Didn't they go to the Starkiller base, that ridiculous over-the-top Death Star, and get through the shield by staying in hyperspace? Suggesting that hyperspace works like it has always worked by entering a different dimension, or dimension, and not being in real space. Now all of a sudden you are in real space, but you're just going really fast. Which is it? So I already kind of talked about Snoke. What a moron. He's supposed to be some 1,000-year-old super dude. I haven't read any of these Disney Wars books, but I heard, I could be wrong, so forgive me if I am, that he's like 1,000-year-old and super awesome, but he's a moron. He's like, oh yes, I see this. I see you're going to kill your true enemy. Look, I know the Emperor was also blindsided by Vader's betrayal, but that was well executed. And a huge payoff after an enormous build-up. This was just being stupid. How did this guy survive 1,000 years if he's this stupid? Then we have the character assassination of Yoda. He barely even speaks in Yoda fashion. He keeps having these huge lines of exposition that don't fit with Yoda at all. Then he's throwing lightning bolts despite being dead. He suddenly shows up conveniently, and Luke seems surprised to see him, so I guess he hasn't been showing up regularly. And he's trying to make jokes and oh no, the Jedi thing doesn't matter. And the mistakes, look. What he says, I think, is actually right. The Jedi were too focused on suppressing all emotions. He doesn't speak like Yoda. He doesn't act like Yoda. He tries to make these stupid jokes that aren't funny. And he lost all his charm. Was that Yoda? It didn't feel like Yoda to me. There wasn't any real wisdom except that I don't know what he was trying to do. Ugh. So again, Luke came to that planet to die, and I wish he had. I wish this whole movie would die. Then Leia gives up. The only one who was still fighting. And who kept having hope. She gives up. She's like, oh, I guess the galaxy doesn't care anymore. Also, what the hell with these rebellion rings? Really just gonna have this ring and be like, oh, I'm a rebel. How long is it gonna take the Emperor to catch on to that? It's like, ugh. And just the symbol gives everyone hope. Why are they not fighting? These people are in this crappier state than the Rebel Alliance was. Because nobody does care. Because clearly they don't. And again, it's Disney going over the top where the rebellion is in even sorrier state than they ever were. Because their new rebellion has to be crappier, and their first order has to be better, I guess. So that it's even more lopsided, and they think it'll be even more awesome when the rebellion wins, or the resistance wins. I have to say, they murdered Akbar. I didn't even know it was him until they mentioned it. It's a Mon Calamari cruiser. It's clearly a Mon Calamari cruiser. It looks like a Mon Calamari cruiser. And I was like, where are all the Mon Calamari on this Mon Calamari cruiser? I'm not saying they can't have other people on board, but there should at least be a few Mon Calamari there. And then I'm like, ooh, there's one. And then he's like, ooh, you want us to do what? And then in a different scene, it's just thrown out like, oh yeah, that was Akbar. He died on the bridge. Akbar was a huge favorite character of mine. He just died like a schmuck. And I didn't even know it was happening. What am I supposed to do with that? It feels like a slap in the face. Am I supposed to be sad that Akbar died? I didn't even know it was him. Again, it feels like this movie was made by people who don't care about Star Wars. They clearly didn't care about Akbar like I did. So yeah, Akbar dies because two TIE fighters take out the bridge. That's even worse than what happened to the Executor. They didn't even have to crash into it. And shields in this movie are only as strong as the plot leads them to be. Because, you know, those long-range shots are blocked perfectly, but then these TIE fighters aren't. And at this point, I wonder, why did the Millennium Falcon ever fly away from Star Destroyers when they could just tear them apart, I guess? These new speeders are pathetic. Everything in this movie is a joke, because this whole movie feels like a bad joke. They're not funny. The whole fin makes no sense. Like, were they built for this planet? Do they always just have a fin dragging across the floor? Does that make sense? Then they have this gate buster thing. That, okay, first off, if they want to destroy that base, why not just bombard it from orbit? Was the ship too damaged? Why is it never mentioned? It still seemed to be flying, even though it was missing a wing. Also, what the hell? Are they trying to win an award for widest ship? But why not just bombard it from space? Then, when you're there, it's like, oh, we can't get through this door. Why? You have these huge, over-the-top AT-ATs, but you can't get through. How about you shoot the rocks? If the door's too tough, just shoot the rocks. You can take on rocks. You have AT-AT weaponry. No, let's just fire a miniature Death Star beam. Also, if it was miniaturized Death Star, why didn't it fire like that? And I'm not against the idea that you can use a Death Star-like weapon. Yeah, that's fine. The whole thing wasn't that bad. Except that when finally fired, it sucked. Sure, it blew a hole in that door, but it sucked. I expected a massive explosion that took out the whole base if it's a miniaturized Death Star beam. I was thinking something like a Darksaber or whatever. But alright, whatever. So then Finn wants to sacrifice himself and be a hero. I thought that could have been a good moment. But then no. Bo stops him. Because he's like, oh no, we're gonna win this war by saving those things we love. And now I'm going to kiss you, even though we haven't really been building up a relationship. I'm going to kiss you anyway. Even Finn is just there like, I don't know what to do with this. Also, how did she catch up to him? Didn't she break off with the rest of them? And now all of a sudden she's in front of him and it can intercept him? I guess ships are also flying at the speed of plot. I already talked about Akbar being ruined. I already talked about tracking in hyperspace, never seen before, but perfectly extrapolated. Alright, on the Star Destroyer, when Phasma is going to execute Finn and Rose and that asshole, the whole thing explodes. Except characters that matter. But they're no longer together. Like there's an explosion. And then Finn and Rose are laying there and Phasma is somewhere else. Even though moments ago she was standing there ordering them to be executed. Where'd she go? Did she take a break? Like, okay, we're gonna execute you. Do it now. Hang on. I'm gonna take 5. Just stay here. What was going on with the porgs? Was Chewie eating a porg with another porg being like, oh, I'm so hungry. It looked like he was eating one of them. Are they cannibals? Really? That didn't make sense to me. Maybe he was reading... Look, people are all about, oh, are the porgs yay or nay? I don't care about porgs. They were fine. Whatever. There's a lot of other shit that really bothers me a lot more than porgs. I don't mind porgs. I just wish Chewie wasn't such a big joke. So the whole BB-8 repair thing in the beginning is just stupid. It's just stupid. And yes, I know there have been jokes like this before, but even in the prequels they were stupid and people didn't like them. So let's add some more and make them even more ridiculous. Ooh, I got 10,000 arms coming out of it and plugging all these holes. Because that's how repair works. You just plug some holes. And then I'm just going to jam my head into it and make it work. I feel like it's even more stupid than stuff we saw before. The only thing that comes close to it was Han smacking the Falcon and then it turns on. And that wasn't even that unrealistic. Sometimes the wire is loose and you smack it and it turns back on. That happens. It was funny and it was clever. But nothing about this movie felt clever. It felt stupid. And then at the end of the movie, Luke just pisses off. Because why not? I want to piss off after this movie. It's like, oh, I just did this thing and it was so draining. Let me just die. Screw all ya. You know, why not? Seems like a perfect end to this crap. Luke's already a failure here. He already wanted to murder his own student and nephew. So why not? Now I know I haven't talked about the plot that much because the plot, it wasn't exciting to me. It wasn't that interesting. And there were so many things that bothered me. I guess that's my whole feeling about this movie. The plot wasn't interesting. It dragged on way too long for no payoff. And there were endless things that bugged me. So no, I did not enjoy this movie, and I don't think I'm gonna see the last one. I think I'm done with Disney Star Wars. I'm still gonna play Star Wars Armada because I love that. But these movies, I can't. It feels like being smacked in the face repeatedly. Also, 2.5 hours. Damn, that was a long movie, and nothing happened. Well, thanks for watching me rant. And yeah, that was an evening.